Aliens pleaded for aid. Then Deathworlders emerged from the dark. The stars above were cold and distant, yet to Commander Alara Hayes, they felt almost alive. The bridge of the starship resolute hummed with quiet activity as the crew went about their duties. Outside, the vast blackness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with the twinkling lights of distant suns. Humanity had grown far beyond its home planet, and yet every new system explored reminded them of how fragile life could be. Ilara's eyes scanned the holographic displays before her, tracking the faint pulse of a signal that had appeared without warning. It was unlike anything they had seen before, irregular, urgent, and almost pleading. The source was a small, remote planet in a distant system, far beyond the usual human trade routes. The designation on the star charts was simple, Velira IV, but there was nothing simple about the message coming from it. "This is Commander Hayes," she said, her voice calm though her mind raced. "Run an analysis of that signal. I want to know everything about it, frequency, energy pattern, language signature. Let's find out who's asking for help." Lieutenant Marcus Renner, the communications officer, tapped quickly at the console. The bridge lights reflected in his serious eyes. "It's complicated, Commander. The signal isn't using any standard communication protocols. It's almost organic in nature. I think it's coming from a living network, some kind of neural transmission." Ilara frowned. That was not impossible, but it was rare. Only a few known species in the galaxy had ever been capable of that kind of communication. "Can we decode it?" she asked. "We're trying," Marcus replied, "but the signal keeps changing patterns like it's adjusting itself in real time. Whoever, or whatever, is sending it is desperate." Ilara leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. Humanity had seen many strange things in the galaxy, hostile worlds, mysterious phenomena, abandoned colonies. But there was something about this signal that carried a weight she could feel deep in her chest. It wasn't just a call for help. It was fear. "Helm, set a course for Velira IV, she said finally. "At maximum speed. We're going to find out who's sending this and what they need." The ship responded instantly, engines humming as it jumped into faster-than-light travel. Outside, the stars stretched into long streaks as the Resolute tore across the galaxy. As the journey continued, Ilara called her senior officers together in the strategy room. The room was small but efficient, filled with holographic maps of the Velira system. The crew gathered, their faces reflecting both excitement and concern. "Here's what we know," Ilara began. "The signal comes from Velira IV. According to our scans, the planet should be capable of supporting life. Atmosphere, temperature, gravity, all within normal ranges. But there's something strange. Our sensors indicate heavy environmental disruption on the surface, like large-scale destruction." The science officer, Dr. Lena Voss, spoke up. "Destruction could mean a natural disaster, but the patterns are irregular. They're too precise to be natural. It looks like targeted devastation, like someone or something is hunting them." "Or attacking them," Marcus added grimly. Ilara nodded. "Exactly, and whoever is doing this might still be there. That's why we're going carefully. We're not rushing in blindly, but make no mistake, we're going to help if we can. Humanity doesn't turn its back on a species in need." There was a pause as everyone absorbed her words. It was easy to speak of helping others when far from danger. It was another thing entirely to act when your own lives were at risk. Hours later, the Resolute exited faster-than-light travel, dropping into real space just outside Velira IV's orbit. The planet was beautiful at first glance, with swirling clouds, sparkling oceans, and vast forests. But as the sensors scanned closer, the picture changed. Vast sections of the forests were charred black, entire cities reduced to rubble, and giant craters scarred the surface. Smoke rose in thin plumes from areas that were still burning. "It's worse than we thought," Dr. Voss whispered, staring at the display. "This wasn't just an attack, it was systematic." Ilara's jaw tightened. She had trained for countless scenarios, but nothing could prepare her for the sight of a world in agony. "Prepare the landing craft," she ordered. "We need to see if there are survivors. Marcus, keep monitoring the signal. Maybe they're still sending it for us to find." The descent to the planet's surface was tense. Thick clouds blocked much of the sunlight, casting eerie shadows over the scarred landscape. The landing craft touched down in a clearing, surrounded by ruined buildings and blackened trees. As they disembarked, the team was struck by silence. No animals, no wind, no movement, just a heavy, unnatural quiet. Commander Hayes signaled her team to spread out cautiously, weapons ready but not raised. The priority was observation, not combat. Then they saw them. The Valyrians emerged from the shadows. They were unlike anything the crew had ever encountered. Tall and slender, with translucent skin that glimmered faintly in the dim light, their eyes were wide and luminous. Their expressions were filled with fear and exhaustion. One stepped forward, raising its hands in a universal gesture of peace. A translator device hummed, slowly interpreting the alien language. "Please help us. They come from the dark. Death follows, please," the Valyrian said. Alara felt a chill run down her spine. She had expected fear, but not this level of desperation. "Commander Hayes," Dr. Voss whispered, "they're terrified, and they're right, they're being hunted." "We'll help," Alara said firmly. "We just need to understand who or what we're dealing with." The Valyrian leader, whose name the translator identified as Tilrin, guided them to what remained of their city. Ruined structures, broken vehicles, and signs of struggle were everywhere. Tilrin explained that the attackers were known as the Deathworlders, creatures that thrived in darkness and extreme conditions, capable of surviving where nothing else could. They were fast, intelligent, and incredibly strong. "They appear without warning," Tilrin said, his voice shaking. "They destroy, then vanish, leaving nothing but fear and ruin behind. We have tried to fight, but we are weak against them." Alara's mind raced. Humanity had faced countless threats, but this sounded different. The Deathworlders were not just predators, they were strategic hunters, adapted perfectly to their environment. The usual military tactics might not work. "We'll need to gather information," she said. "Weapons, defenses, anything you have recorded about their behavior." Tilrin led them to a hidden chamber beneath the city ruins. Ancient technology, strange yet advanced, hummed quietly. Valyrians had been recording their encounters, mapping the Deathworlders' movements and attempting to understand their patterns. Dr. Voss examined the data. "These creatures are evolving rapidly. Their attack strategies change based on the prey's actions. They are learning, faster than any species we've encountered before." Alara took a deep breath. This mission was no longer just about rescue. It was about survival. If the Deathworlders could adapt so quickly, they could become a threat far beyond this planet. The team spent hours analyzing the situation, planning the next steps. Outside, shadows moved in the forests, subtle but deliberate. Even in the daylight, there was a sense of watching eyes, waiting for the right moment to strike. That night, as the human crew set up a temporary camp in the ruins, the planet's darkness revealed the full horror of the Deathworlders' threat. From the surrounding forests, faint silhouettes moved with uncanny silence. Trees bent unnaturally, and the faintest rustle suggested that something was always there, always watching. Alara sat by the holographic map, reviewing the Valyrians' records. Her hand rested on the edge of the table, tight around her comlink. "We have to be careful," she said quietly to herself. "But we will not fail. Humanity doesn't give up. We adapt, we survive, and we protect." A sudden alert from the perimeter sensors broke the silence. Shadows were moving closer, faster than expected. Alara signaled the team. Weapons powered up, energy shields activated, and the humans and Valyrians prepared for whatever was coming from the dark. In the distance, a low, eerie sound echoed through the ruins, a sound that sent shivers down even the most experienced soldiers' spines. The Deathworlders were near, and the hunt was about to begin. Alara's eyes narrowed. "Stay sharp, humanity is here. And we are not afraid." The night on Valyra IV was darker than any human on the Resolute had ever seen. Not a single star shone through the thick, swirling clouds, and the ruins of the Valyrian city seemed to absorb every ounce of light. Commander Alara Hayes crouched beside a low wall, her eyes scanning the edge of the forest. The perimeter sensors continued to flicker warnings, shadows moving in the darkness, faster than anything she could track. Beside her, Lieutenant Marcus Renner adjusted the energy scanner, the device emitting faint pulses of light. "Commander," he whispered, "these readings, they're incredible. The Deathworlders can almost phase through our sensors. It's like they know we're watching." Alara nodded. She had expected a tough mission, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. Humanity had faced hostile aliens before, but nothing had ever adapted this quickly. The Deathworlders were not only predators, they were hunters in the truest sense. They stalked, studied, and struck with precision. "Stay focused," she said. We are here to protect these people and we won't fail. Remember, they can't see everything and they aren't invincible. The Valyrians had gathered nearby, their luminous eyes wide with both hope and fear. Tilrin, their leader, spoke softly through the translator device. Commander Hayes, they are clever and patient. They have waited for centuries in the dark spaces between worlds. Only now have we reached them and they know we are here. Alara's jaw tightened. Then we will show them humanity's courage and our strategy. We won't let them destroy your home while we stand by. The first hours passed cautiously. The humans and Valyrians set up a temporary camp among the ruins, using energy barriers to shield themselves. Dr. Lena Voss and her team began studying the environmental data from the destroyed city. Fires still burned in some areas and sensors detected faint movements in the surrounding forest. It was clear that the Deathworlders were observing. They move like shadows, Dr. Voss said quietly, showing Alara the holographic data. They don't follow normal paths. They avoid light, but they can react to it. Any bright exposure seems to confuse them temporarily, but they learn fast. Alara considered this. It was a small advantage, but enough to give humanity a chance. Good, we'll need every advantage. Let's plan our patrols carefully. And no one goes alone. The first patrol went out just as the dim light of dawn touched the horizon. The humans and Valyrians moved in groups, scanning the nearby forests for signs of the creatures. The air was heavy and tense. Every rustle of leaves set hearts racing. Hours passed with only faint glimpses of movement. A shadow darting between trees, a distant reflection of eyes, but no direct contact. Then, just as they were beginning to think the morning would be calm, the first attack came. From the dark edge of the forest, a figure leapt at the patrol with unnatural speed. It was humanoid in shape but taller, with limbs that moved almost too fast to track. Its skin was dark, matte, and seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed faintly, a pale yellow in the morning haze. "Contact!" Marcus shouted, firing his energy rifle. The bolts of light struck the creature, but it dodged with impossible agility. The Valyrians panicked, their fear evident as they tried to retreat. Alara's voice cut through the chaos. "Form up! Shields up!" She and a small team moved to cover the retreating Valyrians, using energy barriers to block the creature's path. The creature hissed, then retreated into the forest as suddenly as it had appeared. Silence fell again, broken only by the labored breathing of the patrol. "They're scouting," Dr. Voss said. "They didn't attack to kill, they wanted to test us, learn our patterns." Alara wiped sweat from her brow. "Then we know something they don't. They underestimate human adaptability, and that will be their mistake." Back at the camp, the humans and Valyrians convened a strategy meeting. Holographic displays of the forest were projected above the table, showing the areas of attack and the patterns of movement. Tilrin pointed at the projections with his elongated fingers. "They come from the darkness, Commander," he said. "They know the forests and shadows better than we do. They can appear anywhere at any time. We have tried to fight them, but we are not strong enough." Alara studied the map carefully. "Then we fight smart. You show me how you've been tracking them, and I will show you how we adapt. We'll combine your knowledge with our technology. Together we can hold them off and maybe even drive them back." The plan was simple in theory. Human soldiers would create mobile light sources, using pulses of brightness to confuse the Deathworlders, while Valyrians would use their agility and local knowledge to flank the creatures. Energy traps would be set along predictable paths. It was risky, but it gave them a fighting chance. The first coordinated patrol left in the afternoon. Alara led the humans while Tilrin guided the Valyrians. The forest was quiet, almost unnaturally so. Every movement was watched, every sound amplified. Hours passed without incident. Then, as the patrol reached a clearing, multiple figures emerged from the shadows. The Deathworlders had learned quickly. They attacked in coordinated strikes, surrounding the humans and Valyrians. "Formation!" Alara shouted, activating the energy barriers. Pulses of light flashed, momentarily disorienting the creatures. The patrol fought back, using both human weapons and Valyrian agility. The battle was fierce. The Deathworlders were stronger than anything the humans had encountered, but they had underestimated teamwork. The humans' coordinated attacks, combined with the Valyrians' intimate knowledge of the terrain, allowed them to push the creatures back. Even so, the encounter came at a cost. Several Valyrians were injured, and the humans realized that this was only the beginning. The Deathworlders were not mindless beasts. They were learning, adapting, and evolving with every engagement. After the battle, the patrol returned to the camp. The mood was grim, but determination burned in every eye. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and they would face them again. Alara addressed the group. "We know now what we're dealing with. They are fast, intelligent, and deadly. But we also know something else. They can be outsmarted. They are not invincible. We will learn their patterns, adapt our strategies, and protect the Valyrians. That is what humanity does." That night, as the team analyzed the data from the skirmish, Tilrin approached Alara quietly. "Commander, you are different from any being we have known. You fight not out of fear, but out of hope. That is why we trust you." Alara smiled faintly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "We'll keep your people safe, Tilrin. That is my promise." But sleep was hard to come by. Outside the camp, the forest seemed to breathe, and the shadows moved with a life of their own. The Deathworlders had watched the humans and Valyrians fight together. They had learned, and they would return smarter and more dangerous than before. The next day brought a new challenge. Reconnaissance drones detected movement deep in the forest, a large group of Deathworlders advancing toward the camp. This was no random attack. It was a coordinated assault, more organized than any the humans had faced. Alara and her team prepared defenses immediately. Energy barriers were repositioned, patrols increased, and the humans worked alongside the Valyrians to fortify the camp. The tension was palpable. Every shadow seemed to hide a predator. Every rustle of leaves felt like a warning. When the Deathworlders arrived, they struck with terrifying precision. The first wave of creatures slipped through the outer defenses, using speed and cunning to target weak points. But the humans were ready. Pulses of light, combined with adaptive tactics, forced the creatures back. The battle raged for hours. Alara coordinated attacks from the center of the camp, moving strategically to reinforce weak spots. Valyrians flanked the Deathworlders, cutting off retreat paths. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. By the end of the day, the Deathworlders had retreated into the forest, leaving the camp battered but intact. The humans and Valyrians had learned valuable lessons about the creatures' behavior. The creatures were intelligent, adaptive, and dangerous, but they had limits. Alara gathered her team after the battle. "We survived the first major encounter," she said, "but this is far from over. They are learning from us, and we must continue learning from them." Humanity doesn't give up. We adapt, we fight, and we protect. That is what makes us strong. Dr. Voss nodded. "We need to study every detail from today, their strategy, their weaknesses, their patterns. Knowledge will be our weapon," Tilrin added, "and courage will be our shield. Humanity and Valyrians together, we can face them and we can win." As night fell once again, the forest seemed quieter, but there was no true calm. The Deathworlders were still out there, hiding, watching, and planning. Humanity had made its first stand and survived. But the real challenge was only beginning. Alara stood at the edge of the camp, looking out into the dark forest. She could feel the presence of the Deathworlders, patient and waiting. Yet she also felt something stronger, the resilience of her crew, the courage of the Valyrians, and the unyielding determination of humanity. "We will not fail," she whispered to herself. "No matter what comes from the dark, we will face it together, and we will survive." Outside, shadows moved in the distance. The Deathworlders were learning, but so was humanity. The day after the first major skirmish, the camp on Valyra IV was buzzing with activity. Humans and Valyrians worked side by side, repairing energy barriers, fortifying shelters, and preparing new weapons. Commander Alara Hayes walked among her team, checking on every squad. Her mind was occupied with one thought: the Deathworlders would return. And when they did, humanity had to be ready. Dr. Lena Voss approached her with a holopad in hand. "Commander, I've analyzed the patterns from the last encounters," she said. "The Deathworlders strike in waves. The first attack is always reconnaissance. They test, they learn. The second is more strategic. They adapt to our responses, anticipate our moves." Alara nodded. "Then we need to be smarter than they are, faster than they are, and unpredictable. Humanity doesn't just survive by following the rules. We survive by breaking them in ways the enemy cannot expect." The Valyrians gathered around, their glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and fear. Tilrin, their leader, spoke softly. "Commander, our people have lived in the shadows for centuries. We know these creatures, but they are stronger than ever. How do you plan to fight them?" Alara looked at him steadily. "We combine what you know with what we can do." Your knowledge of the terrain, their habits, and their weaknesses, combined with our technology, strategy, and courage, will make us unstoppable. The key is unity. Humans and Valyrians together, we fight as one." Tilrin nodded, impressed by her resolve. For the first time in many cycles, he felt hope. By mid-morning, the teams prepared to leave the camp for reconnaissance patrols. Each patrol was carefully planned, with humans and Valyrians moving together in coordinated units. Energy shields glimmered faintly in the pale daylight, and portable lights flashed intermittently to keep the Deathworlders at bay. Alara led the central patrol with Marcus at her side. "Keep your focus sharp," she said. "Every shadow could be hiding an enemy. But remember, we are not just reacting. We are hunting intelligently. We are learning from them, and they cannot learn faster than us." Hours passed with no contact, and the patrols began to feel a false sense of calm. Then a sudden noise broke the silence, a low, guttural hiss rising from the edge of the forest. The leaves rustled violently, and shadows seemed to move on their own. "Ambush!" Marcus shouted. From the darkness, the Deathworlders struck. This time it was different. They were organized, smaller groups attacked from multiple directions, flanking the patrol. Their speed was terrifying, their movements precise, but the humans were ready. Alara signaled the team. "Light bursts now." Portable lights flared, disorienting the creatures for just a moment. That was all the humans needed. Energy rifles fired, coordinated attacks from multiple angles pushed the Deathworlders back. Valyrians flanked them, using agility and knowledge of the forest to cut off escape routes. One of the creatures lunged at Alara directly, faster than she expected. She rolled to the side and fired a pulse that struck its chest. It stumbled, then vanished into the shadows. She knew it would return, but now humanity had shown it they could strike too. After the skirmish, the patrol regrouped in a small clearing. Several Valyrians were injured, but none gravely. Humans checked equipment and tended to wounds. The brief rest gave everyone a chance to catch their breath. "This is only the beginning," Dr. Voss said quietly. "They are learning from us, adapting. Each encounter teaches them new strategies. We cannot fight the same way twice." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Exactly. And that's why we need to be smarter. We need to predict them, not just react. We need to fight with intelligence and courage. That is what makes us human." Tilrin approached, his expression solemn. "Commander, our people have tried to resist them for generations, but we always failed. We are not fighters like you. Your courage gives us strength. If we follow your plan, perhaps we can survive." Alara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We will survive. And we will not just survive, we will fight them back." The following days were spent in preparation. The humans and Valyrians mapped the surrounding forests in detail, noting every hill, river, and dense patch of trees. They set up traps, hidden energy nets, light pulses, and strategically placed decoys. The Deathworlders could learn from mistakes, but humanity could learn faster. Alara worked closely with Marcus and Dr. Voss, developing new adaptive strategies. One idea was to use controlled explosions of light to create temporary blind spots, forcing the Deathworlders into predictable paths. Another was to deploy small Valyrian teams to bait the creatures while humans struck from a distance. "Every action we take now must teach them something, but also trick them," Alara said. "We are fighting smarter, not just harder." The Valyrians marveled at the humans' ingenuity. They had relied on hiding and running for generations, but the humans brought something new: hope, courage, and clever strategy. The next engagement came at dusk. Scouts reported that a small group of Deathworlders was moving toward the camp. This time, the humans and Valyrians were ready. The first wave entered the clearing, moving silently among the shadows. Then, with a signal from Alara, lights flared, energy nets deployed, and coordinated gunfire drove the creatures back. The Valyrians used their speed to flank and trap them, but the Deathworlders had learned. They avoided the lights, moving unpredictably. One creature leapt from a tree, narrowly missing a human soldier, and vanished again. Another tried to retreat, only to run into a Valyrian ambush. Alara realized something critical. The Deathworlders were not just hunters, they were strategists. They could communicate silently, coordinating attacks as a group. Humanity had faced intelligent enemies before, but nothing with this combination of speed, strength, and adaptation. "Keep calm," Alara shouted over the chaos. "We fight together. Use your traps, your lights, your skills. Remember what we learned." The battle continued for hours, both sides testing each other. Humans discovered that sudden bursts of light caused confusion, giving them a small window to strike. Valyrians found that certain movements and decoys could force the creatures to commit to paths that led directly into traps. Slowly, the tide began to turn. By nightfall, the clearing was quiet. Several Deathworlders had retreated, leaving only signs of movement in the dark. The humans and Valyrians were exhausted but victorious. Alara surveyed the battlefield. "We survived because we adapted. We survived because we fought together, and next time we will be even stronger." Tilrin approached again, his luminous eyes filled with gratitude. "Your people, they are remarkable. You fight with courage but also with wisdom. That is why we trust you, Commander Hayes. That is why we believe we can survive." Alara nodded. "It's not just me, it's all of us, human and Valyrian. Together, we are stronger than any creature in the dark." Over the next several days, the humans and Valyrians continued their operations. Patrols were longer, more aggressive, but always coordinated. They studied every encounter, learning the Deathworlders' tactics and weaknesses. One night, as the team gathered around a holographic map, Dr. Voss pointed out a startling pattern. "Commander, look at this. Their attacks are not random. They are focused on key areas, places of importance to the Valyrians. It's almost as if they are trying to break morale rather than just kill." Alara frowned. "Psychological warfare, they understand fear. That makes sense. They are hunters, not mindless beasts. But we will not be intimidated. We will fight and we will survive." Tilrin spoke quietly. "Commander, the Deathworlders are patient. They will not stop until they believe they are victorious. If we make a mistake—" Alara interrupted him gently. "We won't make a mistake. We will fight smart, fight together, and learn faster than they do. That is what humans do. That is what makes us strong." The next engagement proved the point. The Deathworlders attacked in force, trying to overwhelm the defenses with speed and numbers. But this time, the humans were ready. Energy barriers were deployed, lights flashed in unpredictable patterns, and the Valyrians used their agility to lead the creatures into traps. The battle raged through the night. Some humans were injured, and several Valyrians were exhausted, but the cooperation between the species turned the tide. For the first time, the Deathworlders were forced to retreat, leaving the humans and Valyrians standing tall in the clearing. Alara surveyed the battlefield. She saw exhaustion in every face, but also pride. They had survived, they had learned, and they had proven something essential: humanity could face any challenge and adapt. "This is only the beginning," Alara said quietly. "The Deathworlders will return, but we will be ready. We will fight smarter, harder together, and we will not fail." In the darkness, beyond the camp, faint shapes moved among the trees. The Deathworlders were watching, learning from their failures, but so was humanity. And humanity never gave up. The air on Valyra IV was tense with anticipation. For days, the humans and Valyrians had prepared for a bold move, an offensive strike to push the Deathworlders back into the deep forests and prevent them from attacking the cities again. Commander Alara Hayes stood on a rocky ridge, overlooking the clearing where the joint forces had gathered. Energy barriers shimmered faintly, and patrols moved in careful patterns, ready to defend or strike as needed. "We've learned their patterns," Alara said, addressing her officers. "We know how they move, how they react. Today we take the fight to them. We show them that humanity and the Valyrians will not hide, will not run, and will not be afraid." Dr. Lena Voss, adjusting a holomap of the surrounding forest, added, "We've mapped likely locations for their nests. Sensor sweeps show high concentrations of movement in these areas. If we strike at the right moment, we can cut off their forces before they spread further." Tilrin, the Valyrian leader, floated beside Alara. "Commander, we have never faced them together in this way. Your people, you inspire courage. Today we fight not only to survive, but to reclaim our world." Alara nodded. "Exactly. Everyone, remember, we fight smart. We fight together, and we adapt. The Deathworlders may be fast, strong, and intelligent, but they cannot match our courage, our unity, or our determination." The plan was precise but risky. Humans and Valyrians would split into 3 coordinated units. 2 would create diversions in the forest, drawing the Deathworlders into traps. The third, led by Alara, would move directly toward the central nests, using light pulses, energy nets, and adaptive weapons to strike the creatures where they were most vulnerable. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, the teams began to move. The forest was alive with shadows, and every rustle of leaves set hearts racing. Alara led her unit carefully, scanning for any sign of movement. Hours passed with only faint shadows in the distance. Then suddenly, a low, eerie hiss echoed through the trees. The Deathworlders had detected them. "They know we're here," Marcus whispered, adjusting his energy rifle. "They're preparing to attack." Alara nodded. "Then we strike first. Remember light bursts, coordinated movement. Don't let them surround you." The first wave emerged from the darkness, slender, dark-skinned figures moving with terrifying speed and precision. They lunged at the humans and Valyrians, attempting to split the group and force them into chaos. But Alara's team was ready. "Light bursts!" she shouted. Portable lights flared in sudden, blinding pulses, disorienting the creatures. Energy nets deployed, capturing several and forcing others to retreat. The battle intensified. Deathworlders moved in unpredictable ways, but humans and Valyrians coordinated seamlessly. Marcus fired from a distance, while Valyrians flanked the creatures, using their speed to trap them. Dr. Voss monitored patterns, giving real-time feedback on the Deathworlders' reactions. One of the larger Deathworlders, clearly stronger and more cunning than the rest, lunged at Alara. She rolled to the side, firing an energy pulse that struck its chest. It staggered but did not fall. Its eyes glowed faintly, revealing intelligence and awareness. This was no ordinary predator, this was a commander. "Alara, there's a cluster of nests ahead," Dr. Voss warned. "We have to move fast or the others will regroup." "Keep moving," Alara shouted. "We finish this now." The unit advanced cautiously, lights flashing intermittently to disorient the Deathworlders while preventing ambushes. As they reached the central clearing, the scale of the threat became clear. The nests were enormous, twisted structures of dark material, almost organic, radiating an eerie energy. Around them, dozens of Deathworlders prepared to defend their home. Alara assessed the situation. "We cannot fight them all at once," she said. "We create a choke point. We use traps, lights, and precision strikes. Everyone stay focused." The humans and Valyrians moved strategically, luring the Deathworlders into narrow paths where energy nets and light bursts could trap them. The creatures attacked with incredible speed and coordination, but the combined forces of humans and Valyrians were relentless. Hours of intense fighting passed. Some Deathworlders were captured or neutralized, while others retreated deeper into the nests. Then a sudden, overwhelming presence emerged. A massive Deathworlder, larger than any they had seen, with glowing eyes and limbs that moved with terrifying precision. This was the Queen, the source of the creatures, coordination and intelligence. The Queen's roar echoed through the forest, sending smaller Deathworlders into frenzied attacks. Humans and Valyrians braced themselves, forming defensive lines while Alara assessed the situation. "This is it," she said. "We hit the Queen together. Take her down and the rest will fall into chaos." Marcus fired a series of calculated energy pulses at the Queen, while Valyrians used flanking maneuvers to distract her. The Queen struck back with overwhelming force, knocking down trees and sending smaller soldiers scattering. But Alara remained calm. She knew that courage and strategy were stronger than brute strength. Dr. Voss guided them from behind, analyzing the Queen's movements. "Her left side is slower. Use that. Lure her into the trap," Alara signaled the team. They moved in unison, forcing the Queen into a narrow canyon where energy nets and light bursts could immobilize her. The Queen struggled, thrashing violently, but the combined forces held. Finally, a coordinated strike. Humans firing energy pulses, Valyrians striking with agility, wounded the Queen severely. She roared one last time before retreating into the depths of the forest with a few loyal followers. The battlefield fell silent. The remaining Deathworlders, disoriented and leaderless, fled into the shadows. Humanity and the Valyrians had won the battle, but they knew the war was not over. In the aftermath, the humans and Valyrians tended to the wounded and assessed the damage. The victory was significant, but the cost was evident. Several Valyrians had been injured and humans had barely avoided serious losses. Still, morale was high. They had faced an overwhelming threat and survived. Alara gathered her officers and Tilrin. "We did it," she said. "We struck at the heart of their forces and survived, but this is not the end. They will adapt and we must be ready. We have learned something critical today. Together, humans and Valyrians are stronger than any creature in the dark." Tilrin nodded. Your people, they are extraordinary. You inspire courage, hope, and strength. Today we have survived because of your leadership, Commander Hayes. Alara shook her head. It's not just me. It's all of us, humans and Valyrians, fighting together. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us unstoppable. Over the next days, the team consolidated their positions. They reinforced the camp, repaired energy barriers, and studied every detail of the battlefield. The Queen's retreat into the deep forest meant the Deathworlders would regroup, but humanity had shown them that they were no longer easy prey. Dr. Voss analyzed the Queen's behavior. Commander, she learned from every encounter. But our coordinated strategy, combined with adaptive tactics, has put her on the defensive. She will need to change her approach. Alara considered this. Then we stay ahead of her. Every move we make must teach her something, but also trick her. Humanity has always survived by thinking ahead, by adapting faster than the threat in front of us. Tilrin floated nearby. Commander, our people have never seen a species like yours. You fight not only with strength, but with intelligence, courage, and hope. You are truly remarkable. Alara smiled faintly. Thank you, Tilrin, but it's not about being remarkable. It's about survival, protecting life, and showing that even in the darkest places, courage can shine. Today we fought back. Tomorrow we continue to fight, and we will win. As night fell, the camp remained alert. Shadows moved in the distance, faint but deliberate. The Deathworlders were learning, evolving, and planning. But humanity and the Valyrians were ready. Commander Hayes stood at the edge of the camp, looking into the dark forest. Her mind was clear, her determination unwavering. We will not fail, she whispered. No matter what comes, we fight, we adapt, we survive, and we will protect this world. The forest trembled faintly, as if acknowledging her words. The Queen and her followers were out there, waiting for the next engagement. But tonight, humanity had proven itself, and that proof would echo through the forest, through the stars, and through every shadow that dared to challenge them.